Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pascack Clutch, our second episode. Thank you all for joining us for our first episode, which did pretty well. This is Matthew Merlino with my co-hosts Alex McKay, Sean Barry, and Sam Koppelman. We've got a lot to talk about, as there always is in the world of sports, so let's not waste any time, and let's start with Pascack Hills sports. And we'll start with the baseball team. Unfortunately for them, they've gone on a little bit of a skid. They've only had one win in their past 6 games. That was against Ramsey a few days back. They play Westwood today at Westwood. They lost to Westwood yesterday at Pascack Hills 4-2. They're 6-5 right now. Boys golf, McKay, unfortunate news for you. They're 0-6, at least the varsity team is. They've lost everything, including the tournaments.
Yeah,
so I guess we're not going to talk about that.
We're not going to do good this year.
Boys lacrosse, the varsity team is doing pretty well, 6-2, and you saw their last win here on PH Athletics against Lyndhurst. That was a 20-2 clobbering. Boys tennis, Sam, is doing pretty well, at least the varsity team. 7-2 is how Eric Gantz has that team going. And although they did lose to Bergen Catholic 5-0 in their last appearance, but still a very good year for boys tennis. Girls lacrosse is 4-3, just above 500. You watch their last 2 wins right here against Mary Help of Christians Academy and Saddlebrook. 11-2 against the Blue Jays of Mary Help of Christians, and 17-4 against Saddlebrook. And we will go to softball. They've got a 6-4 record with wins against Westwood and Mahwah, the losses against Ramsey and Old Tapan. And because they gave us crap for not mentioning them last time, let's go over to the track and field team. Boys track and field against Ramsey, they won 85-55. Girls track and field, unfortunately, didn't do pretty well. They lost 109-31. Westwood, it was a good win for track, for boys track, 112-19, and a good win they tied against Indian Hills, 70-70. The girls, as Word tries to open, the girls won against Westwood 83-44. And they beat Indian Hills 83-53. And against Mahwah, it was the boys winning 73-67, and the girls losing just barely 70-69. And we just want to mention the athletes of the week while we can. CJ Driver for the boys and Alana Kimball for softball. So good on them and good on all of our Pascack Hills sports teams. Now let's get into the professional sports, and let's start with the National Football League. Because not only is there the draft, there's also some big news for the New York Jets, which I'm very happy about, and it is that Aaron Rodgers is finally coming here, and they gave up a load of draft picks for him.
It's about time.
But thank God he's here. Let's hope it just doesn't turn out like Brett Favre. What do you guys think?
I have a couple hot takes on that
Go
trade. All right, so Aaron Rodgers, obviously, as we know, he's going to the Jets, but at what cost to their future? They got three picks. They got this year's first round from the Jets. They got a second round, and they got a conditional 2024 second round that will turn into a first round if Rodgers plays 65% of those all plays. Yes. I think obviously that pick will become a first. Yeah. But at this point, Rodgers is getting old. He's gonna ask for more money eventually, and
I mean he did just ask recently for a $200 million deal.
Exactly.
He went 1 year in.
Exactly. He's not worth $240 million for a couple of years, and like should the Jets have traded higher for a younger quarterback? I think so.
No. There's no good quarterbacks in the draft this year. Say what you want about CJ Stroud.
I agree. I agree, but I think they should have traded up. And also, they have to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years to make at least one to make the trade somewhat worth it, because they're giving up so many picks that could help build their
Jets fan.
Just
making like the divisional round or the championship game would make it worth it. The Super Bowl would, of course, be very nice, but I feel like we have to at least make the playoffs.
You have to at least win your division.
You guys are the longest drought to make the playoffs with 11 years.
12 years.
Since 2011, and you guys have not even. I don't think you've made it to Super Bowl. I mean, you definitely have not won.
We haven't made it to the Super Bowl since Super Bowl III.
And it's Super Bowl what?
And we should have made it in '82 if it wasn't for Don Shula not tarping the field. But
no.
That's a tangent.
And then
Anyways, looking at the trade details, all we really gave up was a second rounder this year and a first rounder next year. And Elijah Moore, which the picks we got from the Elijah Moore trade we just traded here.
Yeah.
So I think we've won this trade. That might just be the Jets fan in me talking, but we'll just have to see when September comes around.
I think that the Packers actually won this trade because they're starting to rebuild, but they're looking ahead in the future. They're not looking at the now. They're looking on the up right now.
If you look at the Packers' last drafts, when they had Aaron Rodgers, all they really did was defensive because they were pretty much.
And you know what? Now they're gonna have to focus on their offensive.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna. They're probably going to during the draft, trade up for a higher pick, get a quarterback, or some sort of weapon on offense. Because that's what you need at this point.
I think they
have to roll with Jordan Love. As I said, the prospects in the draft right now, these quarterbacks, I don't like them. C.J. Stroud, whatever he's done at Ohio State, it's Ohio State. The only competition is really Michigan and maybe Penn State, but even then Penn State isn't that good. So I don't really like him. Bryce Young, same thing. He was at Alabama and he couldn't even win at Alabama with like the number one recruiting class every year.
I agree. I can agree with that.
So I don't like the top two. Anthony Richardson, physical specimen he may be, he's probably going to crumble on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's talking about Will Levis for some reason, who I didn't know existed until about March or this month. So I really don't know what people are talking about when it comes to these draft prospects, especially these first-rounders. Historically, the first-round draft pick, other than like Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, has not panned out. In the past, like 20 years.
Yeah, 2 decades.
Yeah.
Probably actually 2.5 decades.
2.5 decades. Like, the last first-round pick that was a quarterback that succeeded, like, for a long career was Peyton Manning, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because you had Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck was a very good quarterback, but he got destroyed in Indianapolis, and that's on them, but we won't get into that. So speaking of the draft, let's go over to the draft and just do a little thing before we move on, because there's a lot to talk about, because that is coming up in 2 days. That's Thursday is the first round. So looking at all of these mock drafts, they do say Bryce Young is the best player in the draft. Bijan Robinson, I think he's probably a very good pick, a good running back there. C.J. Stroud they have at 3, Will Anderson 4, the linebacker, and Jalen Carter.
I could see the Giants trading up if Saquon just decides not to resign.
Yeah.
I see them franchise tag.
Well, they have him franchise tag, but he just hasn't signed it.
Yeah.
I could see them trading up and getting a young running back that they can mold into their play style with Danny Dimes.
Yeah. Well, right now, I don't know where the Giants are. Aren't they? They're lower, like 20s.
Yeah, right? But I can see them trading up.
Yeah,
using someone.
Yeah.
They're gonna do something unexpected.
I don't think they will. They're not gonna trade Barkley though.
Yeah,
they're not.
They have one pick in the first round.
But
and it's
if
26,
he keeps holding out like he is, they're gonna draft a
He's
running
holding,
back.
but Dexter Lawrence, he has the same problem too. He has the same thing too with Barkley, but I think they are gonna sign instead of the Giants. They're just holding out for some reason.
Yeah.
I think they have to take Barkley. I did an entire English presentation on why the Giants need Barkley more than Daniel Jones, and I think it was stupid to give Daniel Jones that money and not give Saquon Barkley that money. Because even though I just trashed pretty much all of these quarterbacks, many of them are probably better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't honestly. Daniel Jones is so hot and cold.
Yeah,
like
I don't trust him. I mean, and looking at the games that the Giants had last year, every time that Saquon was good, they won.
Yeah.
And every time that Saquon was bad, they lost.
Yeah.
Like that 0-7 streak that they went on, or 2-7 streak at the end of the year, Saquon was bad. He wasn't injured, but he wasn't doing that well.
Yeah.
And I looked at the stats on Football Reference for the project that I mentioned, and the top 3 performances in passing yards for Daniel Jones, the Giants all lost those games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust Daniel Jones. Saquon
I wouldn't
Barkley-
either. Even if
yeah.
I was a Giants fan, I would not trust Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Saquon
Because
Barkley.
even though,
deserves
yes,
more.
he had a fantastic playoffs, I just wouldn't trust him in the regular
Yeah.
season. Like, he's so shaky sometimes.
As
Like,
a-
you don't know what's going to come next.
As a Giant fan, I do trust Daniel Jones. They just need to get him receivers. So
Yes,
hopefully
and
they
that-
can
I
do
can see
that.
it. That's also
the-
another
Hopefully
thing.
they can
that's
do
the
that in
number
this
one
year's
need.
draft.
That's the number one need for the Giants as of right now. The
That
wide
is also very
receiver.
true.
Uh-huh.
And of course, if Saquon isn't going to sign, they need to run.
And also,
back.
remember, Giants they got Darren Waller too,
Yes.
which helps.
Mhm. Anyways,
Yeah.
one last thing for the NFL, and I'll let our resident Eagles fan / pain lover. Actually, that's me because I'm a Jets fan. Let's let our resident Eagles fan Sam talk about this thing that happened over our break. That is very important for your
Jalen Hurts,
franchise.
5 years,
Yeah.
$255 million.
The biggest contract for a quarterback for all of 3 months until Joe Burrow gets his extension.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna-
Definitely.
he's
He's,
gonna get
he's
two-
getting paid $275 million.
They're saying that Burrow's contract is going to be tied to the salary cap. They're going to do like either a fixed thing like $200 million
Yeah.
or a percentage of the
Yeah.
remaining salary cap for the Bengals.
Honestly,
whichever is higher.
you
which
if
I
you're
can
gonna
see
pay
happening.
if you're gonna pay Joe Burrow that much money, you have to at that point win at least 10 games during the season and also make it to the AFC Championship.
It has to be AFC Championship every year.
Exactly.
12, 13 games.
And you also
12, 13 wins.
but your problem but the problem is that their O-line is still
yes.
iffy.
And their defense, pretty much their D-line, O-line, bad. Secondary, who do they have? Eli Apple?
I don't understand.
Eli Apple isn't good.
Personally, I don't understand why they're banking on him so much if their other
Yeah.
99% of the team is mediocre
They-
at best.
They have a good quarterback in Burrow. They have a good-ish running back in Joe Mixon. They have good receivers, Jamar Smith, obviously, and good other receivers that I'm blanking on.
I mean, Jamar
Oh.
Chase.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, sorry. What did I say?
Smith.
Jamar Smith, sorry. All the same. Their O-line, though, bad. Tight end, who do they have again?
I don't
I
know.
don't
Forgetting.
know.
Exactly. Tight end, but they've
TJ
pretty
Hawk-
much...
No, he's a Jet.
No, that... Jet?
J.J. Hawkinson.
TJ Hawkinson's on the Vikings.
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of someone else.
Anyways, we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Let's go
back,
on.
No, back to that
Yeah, back to the-
$255 million 5 years. Me personally, yes, he had an amazing season. He didn't really lose a game other than the Super Bowl. Really, I don't see
Except the most
him
important
being
season.
worth that much money. Like I could see $240 million, but I can't see $255 million. And there's still stuff you need to
Yeah.
improve on with coming off that Super Bowl loss. Because clearly something
they
something with
they
that
lost
defense
players,
still
too.
yeah
And coaching
so-
staff too.
And
Yeah,
coaching staff.
something
They have-
needs
they
to
have
be
a
done.
lot-
Mhm.
They have a lot
I
of holes
think-
to fill now.
I think this upcoming season for the Eagles, I think they're not gonna have a good season.
I agree.
It's going to
I
be
think-
a down year. For
I
the
think
Eagles.
they're gonna end third in the division, Giants second, Cowboys 1.
I could see that.
I can see it. I really don't want the
It's
Cowboys
always
to.
I agree.
I don't want
I
them
agree.
either, but I mean,
I would
What they
take
done
the
in the
Giants
offseason.
over
It's still
the
that-
Cowboys.
it's
I
still
would
that-
take
good
the
moves.
Eagles over
Yeah.
the Cowboys. I
Always
would take
Eagles.
the Commanders over the Cowboys or whatever they're
Probably.
called. All right. It's 11:29. McKay wants to do some baseball. You get 2 minutes. Go.
Okay, we're going to start off with the leaders. In the AL, we have the Rays, the Orioles, and then the Rangers. In the NL, we have the Pirates, Braves, and Brewers. And then we have Max Muncy leading the league in home runs with 11. Luis Arraez on the Marlins leading the league in batting average with 0.444 in 20 games. We have Ronald Acuna on the Braves leading the league in hits with 34, stolen bases with 12. Then we have Sonny Gray leading the league in
ERA, yeah,
with a
insane.
0.62.
Yeah, but they've only played 20 games.
Yeah, but still, you guys.
He is a
he's
.92.
three-
Yeah, but how many?
And
How many?
he's- and
How
he-
many
he's-
innings has
all
he
of all
he threw
20
7
innings.
last night.
Good for him.
He threw 7 nearly immaculate innings last
Yeah,
night.
yeah, and then some news for anyone who likes Shohei Ohtani. So as many may know, he bats lefty but pitches righty. It has been said that he's been pitching lefty in warm-ups, and it's said that in the next few months he might be pitching lefty in actual games, and he's actually supposed to be getting a 6-fingered glove if he does that to keep it to keep
like that one
it fast.
that one pitcher from a couple years ago.
Yeah, to keep the game going because of pitch clock. So.
Yeah. Well, good for Shohei on becoming more unstoppable. That's 2 minutes. Thank you, McKay. Let's go on to the NBA. Sean, you want to say something?
All right. There's one. All right. So, Jimmy Butler. Last night he put up 56 points, 2 assists, 9 rebounds, and 1 block. And the Heat won 119-14. And then in Game 3, Heat won. They beat the Bucks 121-99. Butler again, 30 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. And then in Game 1, Jimmy Butler had 35 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals. And the Heat beat the Bucks 130-117, and they lead the series 3-1.
Yep, Sean is a big Jimmy Butler fan, I guess, as you can tell. He's also a big Miami Heat fan, but he does have a history of switching teams at the last minute.
Yeah.
This
So
is very true.
we will see in 2 weeks'
Yeah.
time if he is still a fan of the Heat.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, he
So
switched.
as Sean said, it was the Heat beating the Bucks last night. That puts them leading the series 3-1. In the West, it was an overtime win for the Lakers, 117-111 over the Grizzlies. That puts them up 3-1. And tonight, it's a Tuesday night. We have Hawks Celtics, Boston looking to win in Game 5 at home, winning the series. Timberwolves against Nuggets, and Nuggets looking to do the same, win the series at home. And the Suns also looking to win the series at home, all Game 5, and the Suns are against the Clippers. So 3 games to watch out for tonight, 3 games that could send 3 teams into the second round. But more pressing for us here in New York, of course, the Nets got swept by the 76ers. What a surprise. But the Knicks are playing the Cavaliers in Cleveland, and they do have a chance to win the series.
3-1.
although
Let's go
on the
Knicks.
road. So we will see. Sam, do you want to say anything about the NBA?
I do have one thing to say, is that Warriors versus Kings matchup is getting spicy.
I mean, the Warriors
Well,
were down
yeah, that's
2
very-
The
games.
series is
2
tied
games
2-2.
tied 2-2.
And
With the Warriors winning the first game by 1 point, or
Yeah,
the
they've been
second
winning.
game by 1 point.
Yeah, they've been winning.
and De'Aaron
by 1.
Fox is out at the moment, I believe.
Yeah,
Curry's
he's clutch
So,
player of the year.
so Steph Curry
So-
continues his streak of not being able to win unless one of his competition stars is injured. Good for him.
Well, and speaking of Curry, he's put
or
up nearly
if he has
12
Kevin Durant on his team.
he's put up nearly 30 points in both wins. That's pretty.
I can see that series
good.
going 7.
I can see.
I
it
can
as
see that
well.
going to 7 and having a brawl
Yes.
Yeah,
in Game 7.
packed house. It's gonna go good.
Sold out.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, Game 7 it would be in Sacramento, and that would be the biggest game they have had
Definitely.
in over 20 years. Over 20 years
Yep.
at this point. They made the Western Conference Finals in 2002. Excuse me, in 2002, and that was about the last time they were ever relevant. So, good on Sacramento for keeping it tight.
And
with
as we have
Golden
been
State.
saying with the Knicks versus Cavs, it's been an interesting series. I will say that.
Yes.
Like as we said, as we had said earlier in our previous episode, that it was either going to be one of the worst series of this playoffs or one of the best. And I think
It's been interesting.
It's been great. Honestly, that one game where the Knicks won 99-79, that was definitely an eye opener for Cavs fans, because they definitely see that they need some work to, with just some of their team work put in, but they're still young, so they have definitely a lot of time to develop.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is certainly something to watch in the NBA at the moment. A lot of playoff series seem to be coming to an end.
Oh yeah, I gotta talk about one more thing. 76ers. I think their playoff chances might be dead. Joel Embiid is
of
out with a
course.
sprained knee.
Yep.
I mean,
How
granted,
long?
just
How long is that?
he was
It has
he
to be
said there was a
day.
50% chance that he was going to play
Yeah.
in Game 1, and there's another 50% chance that he is not.
Depending on how long these series go, it might be a longer break for the 76ers, which Joel Embiid definitely
Also,
needs.
another good future second-round matchup. If Heat do beat the Bucks, you know who they're playing? They're versus Boston.
Oh.
Repeat of last year's
Yes.
Eastern Conference Final when Celtics beat them in 7.
Yes.
But how Jimmy Butler is performing for the Heat, and if they could play like this against Boston, which, I mean, we'll see, but they could upset another 1 seed.
Staying in the New York area, the Nets need to rebuild.
What a surprise! That's what
They need to rebuild.
You're 3 months late. They traded KD and Kyrie 3 months ago.
But
are you
honestly,
surprised?
them getting swept.
The only reason they were in the playoffs is because KD and Kyrie got them off to that good start.
That is very true.
So you knew they were going to get swept or lose in 5.
This is very true.
What a surprise!
But honestly, them losing like this in such a fashion, they need to rebuild, but not with like 2010 superstars like Kevin Durant and Kyrie and LeBron.
They need to become.
They need to look into the future at this point. Not even try getting into the playoffs. Just look forward.
It's rebuilds, possibly tank time, and the Knicks are going to be back to being New York's team instead of Brooklyn. So I think that brings to an end our NBA segment. Now on to presumably what you've all been waiting for, what we've been waiting for.
Hockey.
It's time for the National Hockey League, and it's time for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Sean, you're itching to say something. Please go ahead.
Rangers were up 2-0. They blow it.
In 2 games.
2 games at the Garden. At the Garden.
With the series being
lost in overtime in the third game, which was very happy for
with
you.
all 4 wins for both teams, all being away, with the Rangers both being in Prudential and the Devils both winning in the Garden.
Yeah, so the high-powered Rangers didn't show up and they were sleepy. And this is why the Rangers are not going to win the Cup. You're up 2-0. You have 2 games at home. You could win in 4 or win in 5, and you lost both games. You have Kane, Panarin, Zibanejad, Igor, all these All-Stars veterans, and you can't even win 1 game at home.
Against a team that pretty much all of them only have 4 games.
And if you want to win the Stanley Cup, you can't be sleepy.
With the leader,
you have to be
with
aggressive.
the Devils leader being their first ever playoff series. With him getting their only goal in his first.
Their goalie was in
game.
Some obscure Canadian third-tier league,
who is now a rookie for the Devils and has gone 2-0
and has gone 2-0 against their fiercest rivals at their home arena, at the Rangers arena, in 2 games where they could have possibly been swept.
With having 35 saves in Game 3.
Man is looking like the next Martin Brodeur, but just watch him lose Game 5.
I will say, as a Rangers fan, we have a tendency to make backup goalies look good.
Yes.
Not a great athlete.
Do you know why? Because the Rangers choke in the playoffs, Sam.
What a surprise. They haven't made the Cup, the
you know
final
what?
since
I can see this going to 7 still. Who knows what's going to happen?
2 weeks ago. Nobody knows what's going to happen. The other New York team, the poverty New York team, the New York Islanders, are on the verge of losing in Game 5 tonight. That's against Carolina in Carolina. So great job on them.
Speaking of Carolina,
the Wild and Stars series is tied at 2-2, but nobody really cares about that. And how about the Oilers, tied with the Kings, 2-2, heading to Game 5 in Edmonton? Oilers, what happened?
Speaking of Carolina, they have been on fraud watch since the beginning of this playoffs. They need to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals to show that they are a team that should not be reckoned with, but in typical Hurricanes fashion, who knows what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, they've reversed their streak from last year where they hadn't won a game at home.
Now
they won a game at home last year. They couldn't win a game on the road.
Okay, well,
but this year they
have
won
a game on the road, although it was against the Islanders, so we'll see.
To say there.
We'll see when it comes to the second round.
I mean, the Islanders were barely
where they will play either the Devils.
And how about Toronto? They were 3-1 against Tampa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the Tampa series, the Maple Leafs leading 3-1 over the Lightning.
That's huge.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
just crazy.
Huge.
There's been so many fights
I
and
honestly
scrums
hope-
that have happened.
I honestly hope that Tampa Bay just decides to pull a 2016 Cavaliers and just gives an absolute beatdown to Toronto just so we could laugh at them for
Watch-
another year.
Watch it happen because the Leaf, I think, would be the record for making the playoffs and not having a series won.
I think
in
it
the
is, yeah.
If they do lose the first round series this year. Lightning Game 5, is it in Toronto? I believe.
Yes, it
think-
is.
yeah, it
It is
is.
in Toronto.
It is in
Yeah.
Toronto, so that would be hard for Tampa Bay, but they can probably do it.
They did it in the first 2 games.
As
so.
you have said, Vasilevsky is pretty washed,
I agree. Yeah.
and the Lightning team as a whole is pretty washed, at least at the moment.
But
Yeah.
speaking
Yeah.
of
Never put it past the Tampa Bay Lightning to come back.
Yeah,
and-
you
This is
know
very
Steven
true.
Stamkos is going to
Yes.
go off.
Yeah,
You
but-
don't know if Vasilevsky goes back to 2018.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of the Toronto and Tampa Bay series, I think it was Game 4, that second OT win. That was really good. We were all watching together, and we were going crazy.
Well, we were watching the Rangers Devils game more, but we did go a bit.
Back and forth.
Yeah,
We
2
went
times in a row,
back and
Toronto
forth.
beat Tampa in overtime in
Yes.
Tampa.
Mhm.
On a comeback.
Yep.
On a comeback game.
Mhm.
So who knows?
The big thing that I want to note for you guys is that Game 5 for the Rangers Devils is on ESPN2
On Thursday at
on a
7:30.
Thursday night at
and
7:30. Why are they disrespecting us? What? Oh,
I
because
don't know.
it's the draft. That's why.
Oh yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Because
It's
the,
still gonna
the
be-
draft is on.
It's still going to be
ESPN.
Sean McDonough right for Raw.
Yes.
It's just going to be on ESPN.
Nothing beats the
Yeah.
NFL. So never mind their ESPN. We
Yeah.
get it. The
But
NFL has
speaking-
you held
Yeah,
hostage.
but going back
Um,
to Saturday, they had crazy amounts of overtime games. I think there's 4 overtime games on Saturday.
Yeah, it
With
was.
two
here,
going
I can-
with
I
two
can
of them
check
going
it.
into
Mhm.
with
Well, you had
Yeah.
Devils Rangers obviously going to overtime. You had Knights winning in double overtime, Leafs winning in overtime, and Devils winning in overtime.
Yeah.
And then the Avs beat the Kraken 6-4, where they now lead 2-1.
All right.
Is it 3-1 now?
It's
I'm not
2-1.
sure.
With this Rangers Devils series, if the Rangers if they want to stay in the series, they have to win Game 5. If they lose Game 5, the Devils are going to win 6.
Wait, the Kraken are 2-2.
Oh,
Yep.
it is.
They tied-
Oh,
Yeah,
my
they
bad.
tied it up. I forgot.
Yeah, the Kraken won 3-2 yesterday.
Oh, yeah, that
in,
makes
in
sense.
overtime.
Yep. So it is.
Speaking of Rangers Devils again, if the Rangers lose, what is in store for their off-season moves?
I think they're gonna have to.
Because obviously they're not re-signing someone. They just
Yeah,
can't with their their salaries.
Probably get rid of one of the old guys.
I think
retire.
we're gonna have to let it
Get rid
get
of Igor.
Kaner.
Yeah, Kaner
Kane's
mid.
probably has to go.
Kane's mid.
Honestly, yeah, I don't I disagree with that.
Nah,
But
Kaner's got to go if they don't beat the Devils.
But I think that we
Yes.
need to prioritize defensive depth.
Yeah,
And-
you guys have
and
nobody on
also,
defense. You have 4 great lines of offensive players, but
Yeah.
your defense has nobody.
as
And
I'm
it
going to
showed
continue
in the
saying,
regular season.
I think that we need to get rid of Keandre Miller because he is so hot and cold. He can have a game like for example during the regular season where he puts up 4 points in a period, but then it lands up having the worst defensive night of his career the next game.
I mean, that's what happens.
With the Rangers.
I don't.
Let's
I
see.
don't think he's a good. I think
Let's
he's
see.
more of a liability.
Gaudreau is 30, and he's on the 4th line. Mika is 30, and he's pretty good. So I think you keep.
We keep Mika.
You
He's
keep Mika.
You keep
Kreider and Panarin are 31, but you have to keep Kreider with the performance
And
he's
you
had in
keep
the
Panarin.
series.
yeah.
And you have to keep Panarin. Kaner is 34, so
Get rid of
I
him.
think he's
I thi-
probably the guy to get rid of.
And his
And-
contract is just so huge.
And your defenseman, oldest is Trouba. He's 29. But looking at these guys on defense, there's nobody.
At this point, just get Ryan McDonough back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring
I mean,
bring
we
back
could,
bring
we could
back the
definitely
2014
shop around.
team.
We should
Yeah.
definitely we can
And
and
bring
should
your-
be shopping around.
And bring Rick Nash out of retirement.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaner probably has to go. If you got to get rid of one guy, it's got to be Kaner.
Yeah.
But yeah, so speaking of the Devils Rangers,
Or
I mean,
not.
it's very
'Cause-
split because like the Rangers have the size and more defense, but the Devils have the speed and offense.
Because with this series, speaking of the speed, the Rangers, they're more old. The Devils, they're young, quick.
Yeah.
They can
Like,
go up the ice.
Jack Hughes,
This series
21.
this series should have been an offensive series, but as of right now, it's become pretty defensive.
Defensive.
Yeah.
Ever since
Very technical.
ever since
Ever
the
sin-
Devils made the
ever
goalie
since-
change, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever
for
since
from
Game
Burnett
3,
to,
ever since the
Mhm.
first puck drop of Game 3, it's become defensive.
And what I will say is that on the Devils, when the Rangers are on the power play and they're up five men to 4, the Devils' defense is so tight it has such a tight box that it's a really good defensive power play zone. Like, I could see during one of the power plays, it was so tight they were just sticking their sticks out, blocking every lane.
Yeah.
It was just
I mean,
not good.
this series is like young versus old. You've got
Yeah.
Hughes.
Well, yeah.
Jesper
Hughes is
Bratt.
21.
Hughes is 21.
Sports
Timo
analysts-
Meyer
Timo
is
Meyer
26.
is young.
Nico
Jesper Bratt-
Heeshire is
Jesper
24.
Bratt is pretty young. Heeshire is young.
Yeah.
if I'm being honest, you rather have
Dawson
young.
Mercer,
And
21.
then you've got Kaner, who's 31. Tarasenko, Kaner, who's 34. Tarasenko, who's 31. Kreider and Panarin are 31.
Our goalie,
Mika's
Akira
30.
Schmidt, 22.
Your 5 best players,
I know.
pretty much, are 30 or over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the Devils'
well,
five
whereas the
best
Devils,
players
their
are
5 best
24 or
players-
lower.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
sports
3
an-
of them are 21.
But-
one of them is
yeah.
22, and then we have 24.
When you look at the Rangers team from last year's but to this year's, the Rangers they had their 3 older guys, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, but
Yeah.
then you had younger players last year like Andrew Kopp, Frank Vetrano. You still have the kid line, but like they had more youth and younger players, which made them quick, like how the Devils are now.
And sports analysts have actually said before the series that this series would go to 7. They thought that Devils would win the first 2 on home ice, and that they would be using their speed and their offense to be winning those games, and then the Rangers would come back at the Garden, and then using what they know from game 1 and 2, and playing more tight defense and more energetic, and winning games 2, 3, and 4, and possibly going to 7.
Well,
But now it's on the reverse.
See,
so who knows?
If you're the Rangers, what would you do? What would you do for Game 5?
Me personally, I would have a third defenseman out there, and then have as a right winger or left winger, and just keep going with your offense, or even just keep still doing what they're doing and just take more higher percentage shots.
All right. Anybody got anything else to say before I do this last thing on the NHL?
No.
All right. I just want to mention for the Kraken, they lost their leading scorer, Jared McCann, for the series after an overtime victory yesterday following what their coach described as a late hit from Cale Makar. So that might be the end of the road for Seattle, although they have put up a valiant fight. I want to mention this one last thing in soccer because I think it's pretty funny. Tottenham, who's one of the biggest teams in the English league, lost 6-1 to one of the smallest teams, Newcastle, and apparently they're going to refund the fans for it. So,
Oh, really?
Really quick.
the players are going to refund the fans, not
Yeah.
not the owners.
Wow.
Really quick before we finish up, just wanted to say a Jets player in the NHL, Morgan Barron. He had a skate to his face and had to get 75 stitches. But then apparently he kept playing that game, and I don't know if he came back that same period or the next period, but
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
I think it was the next period, but still a great effort
75
from him.
stitches to the face.
Yeah.
And he came into the next game smiling like nothing had happened.
It's incredible.
And the scar is huge. It runs all over his forehead.
75
and cheek.
stitches has got to be huge.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
last call for anything else that we got.
Oh, Jonathan
Say.
Taze is no longer a Blackhawk.
Yep, that's big for Chicago.
What team did he go to?
No,
He retired, I believe.
No, he didn't retire.
Or
He
just left.
So since the off season, since free agency is closed now, we don't know. He's still a free agent. No one knows where he's going.
Yeah.
Like we don't know if he's gonna retire as a Blackhawk or if he's gonna just continue his career.
Yeah.
Or he
Which
joins with Patrick
So,
Kane.
and also, what comes next for the Blackhawks? Because obviously
really
their championship team is all
the
gone.
championship team from 2015 is all gone.
All gone.
Kaner was the last guy.
Yeah.
They were I believe they came last place in the entire NHL this
It,
year.
it's gone.
Either
It's
last
over.
place in
They
their
need a-
division.
Unless they
It's
win the
rebuild
lottery.
time.
Yeah, it's rebuild.
It's
Unle-
rebuild time in most of Chicago.
Yeah.
Unless they win the lottery and get Connor Bedard, they have essentially
It's pretty much
no
over.
chance of
making the playoffs.
making the playoffs
Anytime
for the
soon.
next 4-ish years, in my opinion.
Two, maybe
Two or
three is
three.
my opinion. All right, that's going to end it. Little thing for what's coming up here on PH Athletics today. We got a boys lacrosse game, and Thursday we've got girls lacrosse against Valley, so that'll be big. Tune in for that. Of course, 2 weeks from now, it'll be another episode of Pascack Clutch. For Sam, Sean, and Alex, this is Matthew Merlino. So long, and thank you for joining us. Have a very good day and a very good 2 weeks.